Welcome to this presentation on Agrostis stolonifera, or as it is known by its common name, creeping bentgrass. If there is one turfgrass species that you could consider an exotic on golf courses, it is creeping bentgrass. It is the ultimate golfing surface, and it is the most intensively managed turfgrass. Putting greens are the most highly managed portion of the golf course, and almost all these greens in the temperate regions are established to creeping bentgrass. The green area of this map designates the adaptive range of creeping bentgrass in the United States. Surmising from this map, creeping bentgrass, as compared to other cool season turf grasses, has excellent heat and cold tolerance. In the literature, creeping bentgrass has two associated Latin names. Given the stoloniferous growth habit of creeping bentgrass on golf courses, the preferred Latin name is Agrostis stolonifera. Creeping bentgrass is also native to Eurasia. Creeping bentgrass, as previously mentioned, is used on golf greens. It might be used on tees, as shown here, and also on fairways. In the case of where it's used on tees and fairways, these golf courses tend to be more upscale or expensive due to the cost and management intensity associated with maintaining creeping bentgrass. In this table, which is similar to the one in the presentation on Poa annua, provides the general range at which creeping bentgrass is maintained. Regarding nitrogen, agronomically creeping bentgrass should be maintained in the 3 to 4 pounds per 1,000 square foot per year range, or even higher depending on soil and environmental conditions. The lower rate of nitrogen is usually given, the 1 to 2 pounds, for two reasons. One, to try to discourage the amount of Poa annua that might invade, and the second, for increasing ball roll, specifically on putting greens. Additionally, you can see the adaptive range of creeping bentgrass on golf courses with regard to mowing height is in the range of slightly less of 1/10 of an inch, which can be found on putting green conditions, to probably 3/4 of an inch to an inch. To mow creeping bentgrass, a reel type mower is used, whether it is on a tee, fairway, or on greens. I want to briefly discuss the development and release of creeping bentgrass cultivars that, along with improved mower technology, has allowed us to mow putting greens at heights, in some instances, below 1/10 of an inch. In 1955, Penn Cross creeping bentgrass was released by Penn State University and was used not only throughout the United States but the world. This picture was taken on a golf course in Japan in early January, and the green is Penn Cross. The brown turf, for your information, is zoysia grass, which will be discussed in the warm season turfgrass module. For over 40 years, Penn Cross was really the only cultivar available, and if you think about it, that one cultivar basically the whole world used. In comparison, I think there must be over 60 varieties or cultivars of corn available specifically to be used in Ohio. There were a few new cultivars that became available in the late 1980s, like Penlinks, which is shown here. During the 1990s and 2000s, increased breeding efforts were put forth that resulted in the release of new improved cultivars. For example, Penn A4 and Penn G2, to just name a couple, were selected from creeping bentgrass greens in Georgia. These cultivars were unique in that they had extremely high shoot density, on the order of 2.5 times that of Penn Cross. These types of cultivars were referred to as the high shoot density cultivars that could tolerate lower mowing heights, much lower than what Penn Cross and other cultivars like Penn Cross could. Now we have a number of cultivars to choose from. I've listed a few and categorized them with regard to their texture and density. As a reference, the finest textured bentgrasses are actually the velvet bentgrasses, which will be discussed in a different presentation. If you look at the cultivars under fine, you can see there are several new ones since the A's and G's. These would be used on the highest quality and maintained golf course greens. What is the finest and highest density bentgrass cultivar available now? At the moment, Pure Delight is probably the finest and most dense creeping bentgrass cultivar on the market. As a reference, V8 to the left is a new generation high shoot density cultivar, while Pen A4 mentioned previously is a first generation. And by looking at Pure Delight, you can see how almost uniform and how very little coarseness exists in that plot area. This concludes this brief overview of creeping bentgrass.